The silent killer of South Korea that murdered 1,500 young people. The silent killer of South Korea that murdered 1,500 young people is the tragic and heartbreaking tale of a lung disease outbreak that killed 1,500 young people in South Korea, including young people, pregnant women, and babies. The film shows the unexplained deaths of infants and expectant mothers, the Korean CDC's initial denial and carelessness, and the eventual identification of a tainted humidifier sterilizer as the cause of the diseases and deaths. The film highlights the terrible effects on the victims and their families in addition to the careless behavior of the businesses engaged in the manufacture and sale of the poisonous product. It highlights the necessity of stricter safety laws and increases public awareness of the possible risks concealed in common household items. A young South Korean couple named the Lees is described in a sorrowful story as taking their 3-month-old son to the hospital where he begins exhibiting severe symptoms. The baby's lungs are starting to solidify and are unable to grow, leaving doctors baffled. Tragically, despite their best attempts, the infant dies. The wife of the Lees, who is also having identical lung problems, returns to the hospital with her husband just 4 days later. Mr. Lee is left saddened and feeling abandoned as her illness deteriorates and she ultimately passes away as well. The causes of these unexplained illnesses that claimed the lives of the entire family remain a mystery to the doctors. We are introduced to Dr. Hong, a South Korean physician who is disturbed by the unexplained deaths of unborn children and expectant mothers. He becomes irritated that no one is discussing the symptoms after noticing a pattern of recurring ones. Dr. Hong explores a range of scenarios, including contaminated baby food or water, parental abuse, and water supply poisoning. But she is unable to establish a link between the patients. Another pregnant patient joins the hospital as he is working, adding to the growing number of instances involving this silent murderer. A mother in South Korea relates the tragic tale of losing 2 babies to an unexplained illness. The mother blamed herself for anything wrong when the first kid, who had solid lungs, died soon after birth. When it occurred with her second pregnancy, she felt that she was solely to blame. Still, a physician by the name of Dr. Hong started contacting other physicians because he thought that something was specifically targeting South Korean families. Doctors who had seen cases identical to his were responding to him in large numbers, confirming that the nation was truly facing a silent killer that was impairing babies' ability to breathe. A woman talks about how her baby's health is deteriorating and how trying to treat him at home isn't working. When they do go to the doctor, they find that the infant has abnormally large, white lungs. The infant passes away in the hospital despite their best attempts, leaving the parents distraught and self-blaming. Doctors tell similar tales of patients who had abnormal lung scans and breathing issues. Many of these patients were young pregnant women or children. A physician named Dr. Hong realizes how serious the situation is and contacts the Korean CDC for assistance. However, the CDC initially ignored the problem, wasting 2 years while more individuals passed away. The public eventually becomes alarmed as a result of the news media's eventual involvement. In a rare move, the CDC admits the issue, but incorrectly claims that it just impacts expectant mothers and small children. The movie describes how the family members of the South Korean victims of the silent killer were interviewed by the CDC. They inquired about food, hygiene, smoking, and other possible reasons for the fatalities. Nearly every home had a humidifier, according to the CDC, which may have served as a haven for mold and bacteria. The parents, however, were well aware of this and had taken action by purchasing humidifier sterilizers that had been certified by the government. The brand Saku, which is owned by the Korean division of the UK business Oxy, was cited by numerous families. The video raises the possibility that the deaths are related to this humidifier sterilizer. The text describes how, in South Korea, humidifier sterilizers gained popularity as a practical and easy solution to humidify and purify household air without requiring frequent cleaning. These sterilizers featured government seals proving they had passed all safety tests and were marketed as family safe. Nevertheless, a pattern of families using these sterilizers experiencing illness or even death in their family surfaced as more interviews were done. After the CDC started looking into the matter, they found that the sterilizers were the source of the health issues, which resulted in the deaths of more than 1,500 young individuals. This section outlines how the public's initial faith in businesses and the government to guarantee product safety has been undermined by the ongoing discovery of hazardous materials in commonplace items. It has come to light that Yugong, a Korean business, entered the market with a disinfecting liquid sterilizer known as PMG without conducting any safety testing or official assessments. Fung was acquired by RB Group, a multinational conglomerate that commands a large portion of the cleaning supplies industry, from Yugong for use as an industrial-grade rug cleaner. Yugong was able to make use of these new opportunities, which increased their street cred. The film emphasizes the potentially harmful effects of utilizing FEM as a cleaning solution in addition to the careless and profit-driven behavior of these businesses. The transcript describes how Yugong, a Korean chemical company, entered into a significant agreement with a medical company to supply chemicals for industrial cleaning. Other corporations expressed interest in Yugong after this contract was made widely known. Yugong applied for permission from the South Korean Ministry of Environment for their chemical PHMG. The chemical was given a non-toxic seal after being put through testing for use as an industrial rug cleaner by the authorities. The chemical's non-toxic nature for rug cleaning was not specified by the seal. Nevertheless, Yugong granted this seal to Oxy, a medical company that utilized the chemical in a product called a humidifier sterilizer. Oxy asserted that their product was safe to use and could be sold without awaiting test results because of the non-toxic seal. It is stated that Oxy paid for a lot of promotion, diluted the rug cleaner, and added additional substances to the sterilizing product. The author talks about a fictitious situation in which businesses influence public opinion to generate demand for their goods. They propose that businesses may hire writers and journalists to write articles about the risks of mold growth in humidifiers, then capitalize on the fear those articles create to launch a new product like an Oxy humidifier sterilizer. It also emphasizes the absence of oversight and authorization from governmental organizations, such as the FDA. The author calls these companies out for their immoral behavior and expresses shock that they may blame others or claim ignorance. The emphasis is on the blame game between Yugong and Oxy, the businesses in charge of producing the hazardous humidifier sterilizer in South Korea. Both businesses dispute any awareness that their products are to blame for the nation's unexplained lung illness, but their behavior seems to indicate otherwise. Two professors are hired by Oxy to conduct testing on their product. Nevertheless, these professors are eventually imprisoned for accepting bribes from Oxy. Furthermore, Oxy readily modifies its corporate structure to reduce personal accountability. The CDC eventually learns of the link between the victims' usage of Oxy products. Parents are holding themselves responsible for the harm done to their families as a result of the recall of all humidifier sterilizers, including those made by other brands. This section focuses on the misleading practices of the implicated companies and the terrible effects they had on the victims and their families. There are numerous tragic accounts of the humidifier disinfectant's disastrous effects in South Korea. Parents lament that they were unaware they were putting their own families in peril when they unintentionally exposed their kids to this silent murderer. One parent blames himself for purchasing and using the disinfectant, demonstrating the obvious grief and suffering caused by losing a loved one. A firefighter confesses his sorrow and self-blame after saving lives but failing to keep his son safe. Some survivors, like Sunjun, a little child whose lungs were seriously harmed by the toxins, now had to deal with life-altering repercussions. Because of his compromised breathing, he is dependent on an oxygen machine and always worries that it might break down or that a simple cold could become fatal. These accounts demonstrate the terrible effects of the humidifier disinfectant disaster on people, altering their lives irrevocably. The terrible results of utilizing sterilizers and humidifiers tainted with hazardous chemicals are brought to light. One mother used a humidifier till it broke down despite being advised it was healthy for her son. She feared to think of what may have occurred if she had kept using the disinfectant after learning later that applying too much of it might have contributed to the breakdown. After using a sterilizer that was promoted as healthful, the baby of one of the victims suffered from collapsed lungs and subsequently developed irreversible developmental problems. The government's failure to enforce safety standards, the product makers, and the parties' poor communication were held accountable for these occurrences. In general, the silent murderer of tainted household products caused significant suffering to the victims and their relatives. Did you like it? Tell us what you think of the video in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting videos.